Hi everyone, welcome to today's video where I'm going to be sharing 23 books that I want to read in 2023. These are all going to be backlist books because I did already film a separate video sharing the new release books I'm excited to read this year, but there are just way more backlist books on my TBR, so I wanted to dedicate a whole video to talking about these. It was honestly so hard to narrow down a list of just 23 books because I have like 300 plus books on my TBR. So I really tried to narrow it down to the 23 that I am the most excited about, that are really widely loved and talked about a lot, and I just want to form my own opinion on them, as well as books that realistically I actually think I'm going to sit down and pick up this year. So I think it'll be fun to rewatch this video at the end of 2023 and kind of react to it, see what books on this list I actually read, and how I liked all of them. So let's get into it. I did divide this list up by category, mostly by genre, but the first category of books I'm going to talk about are series, which I kind of cheated a little bit with this category because I just counted each series as one book on the list, but obviously I have to start out by reading the first book in each of these series. So that's how I did it for this first category. So the first series I'm so excited to pick up this year is the ACOTAR series by Sarah J. Maas. I was gifted the entire box set for Christmas and I just cannot wait to see what all the hype is about around these books. I've heard that they're really great books to read if you're not a big fantasy reader but you want to get into fantasy, because they do have a really heavy subplot of romance in them, which sounds completely like my thing. So I just cannot wait to get into this series, and if I love it, I definitely want to try out Sarah J. Maas's other series that are also super popular as well. The next series I think I'm going to be picking up very soon in 2023 is the Dreamland Billionaire series by Lauren Asher. The reason I think I'm going to be picking these books up soon is because they are about a fictional theme park, which is described as being like Disney World. I'm going to Disney World on the 1st of February, and the third book in this series comes out on January 31st. So I feel like for those reasons, January is going to be a really great time to try out this series. I might do a reading vlog for it. I know each of the books in the series follows a different guy. I'm not sure if they're related, if they're like brothers or cousins, but each book follows a different guy and they have their own romantic interest in each story. I'm not sure how much of like the theme park as a setting plays into the book, but I'm assuming a good bit, since that's kind of like the premise, is that they're owners of this fictional theme park. So very excited to give this series a try. I've heard a lot of good things about it. The next series I have to start in 2023 is the Addicted / Callaway Sisters series. They are two different series, both by Krista and Becca Ritchie, but there's a whole reading order where you're supposed to kind of read them interchangeably to get the full experience of these books, and I'm so excited to do that. I've heard nothing but amazing things about this series, and that the found family is just incredible, and I think we're following 3 different couples in the series. I know book 1 follows Lauren and Lo, and they are both struggling with addictions, and they fake date to kind of appease their parents and make it seem like they aren't struggling with addiction anymore, when in reality they're both enabling each other's addiction. So I feel like it's going to be a lot of heavy topics, but everyone loves these books so much. I'm excited to figure out which couple in the series is going to be my favorite and learn what all the hype is about. The next series that I cannot wait to give a try is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. This one has been described by everyone as Gossip Girl but set in London, which sounds so perfect for me. I know book 1 follows Magnolia and BJ, and they are supposedly like an even more toxic version of Chuck and Blair. And then I know there's another character in the series called Daisy Hates, and I think so far there's 4 books out in the series, and they alternate who the focus is on. So book 1 is Magnolia, book 2 is Daisy Hates, and then Magnolia for book 3, Daisy Hates for book 4. I cannot wait to try this out. I've heard people either love it or hate it depending on their feelings towards this toxic relationship, but I've also heard that it's just very entertaining and the writing is so unique and interesting, and I can't wait to try it out. The next series I am really excited to read. This is the Twisted series by Anna Huang. This is a series that I've heard so many mixed reviews on, and I'm honestly kind of confused what it really is about. I think it's following 4 best friends, and each book follows a different best friend. But book 1 sounds so different from book 2. I think book 1, it's like a brother's best friend kind of story. But book 2, I think the girl it focuses on is like a princess. So I don't know, I'm kind of interested to see how all these books interconnect with one another and what the hype is about. But again, this is one I've heard mixed reviews on, so I feel like people have their specific favorites in the series, and if you don't like one, that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't like the others. So excited to give it a try nonetheless. The next series I really want to get to in 2023 is the To All the Boys I've Loved Before series by Jenny Han. After becoming obsessed with the Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy and loving Jenny Han's writing, I definitely want to give her even more popular, I would say, series a try. I know the movies especially were super popular. I think they made a movie for every book in the series on Netflix, and people just went crazy for them. People say the books are even better. I don't know completely what it's about. I think this girl sends out these letters by mistake and they end up going to the guy she likes. I don't know. I know it's just like a fun YA romance, and again, excited to read more from Jenny Han because I just became so immersed in the Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy and I felt so nostalgic while reading that. So I'm excited for those same vibes, hopefully, in To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Another YA series that I want to give a try this year is the Shatter Me series by Tahara Mafi. This is a dystopian series about this girl who has a lethal touch. So she's imprisoned by the government, and I've heard that the subplot of romance in here is so good. There's quite a few books in this series. I was thinking about doing a reading vlog for it, but I don't know, since there's so many books in the series, if it would be a good one to vlog myself reading, but we'll see. I'm still very, very excited to try out these books. And the last series that I want to get to is another YA series. That is the Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I'll probably read this closer to the fall time because it just kind of gives me cozy mystery type vibes, but I've heard that this book really does have it all. There's mystery, adventure, romance, and I've heard that it's all blended together really, really well. This is basically like Knives Out, where this girl ends up getting this inheritance from this man she does not know at all. The family doesn't know her, and together they are trying to solve all these puzzles and riddles together in this mansion. It just sounds like it's gonna be so, so fun, and I'll probably film a reading vlog when I get around to reading this series. Moving into the romance genre, which is actually the largest category on this list. At the start of 2022, I thought that thrillers were by far my favorite genre, and just through my reading journey, come to find out that I actually prefer romance. So that's why I love to read and just step out of my comfort zone and explore new things, because I never would have found out that I actually love romance as much as I do. So the first romance book I want to get to in 2023 is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is one of her backlist books that I would say is not one of her more popular, widely beloved ones, but surprisingly I saw it on so many people's favorites of the year list last year, so I definitely want to give it a try in 2023. So One True Loves is about this woman who ends up marrying her high school sweetheart, who's basically her soulmate, but one day he is tragically killed in a helicopter accident. So she grieves his loss for years, tries as best she can to move on with her life, and she ends up reconnecting with this guy she was friends with in high school, and they end up having romantic feelings for one another and get engaged. And she's trying as best she can to move on with her life until one day she gets a call that her husband, who was killed in the helicopter crash, is actually not dead, and he's coming home to her. So it ends up being this really impossible choice of which guy does she pick, what does she do. I feel like the story is going to really put you in the character's shoes, and I don't know what I would do in that situation. It just sounds like such a heartbreaking choice to have to make. But I've heard so many good things about the story. I'm excited to read it and see how it ends. The next romance I'm definitely planning on picking up this summer. It was on my summer TBR last year and I just didn't get around to it, but this is another one that I saw on so many people's 2022 favorite books of the year list. So I'm prioritizing it this summer. That is The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley and Austin Siegmund Broca. They are actually a writing duo who are husband and wife, and the book is about a writing duo who I think was either a couple or married or dating, but they have since split up and they are still under contract with their publishing agency to write one more book together. So they end up having to come together, set aside their differences, and it's like a forced proximity thing where they go to this beach house in Florida to write their last book together, and they're really like writing about their feelings for one another that they have. I've heard this book compared a lot to Emily Henry, and I heard someone say that it's like the best parts of Beach Read and the best parts of People We Meet on Vacation in one book. So that sounds like my ideal kind of read, and I cannot wait to get to it this summer. The next romance I really want to read, I asked for this book for Christmas because, again, it was another one I saw on so many people's favorites of the year list, and that is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I've never read anything from her, but I've just heard rave reviews about this book. I think it's about a like country guy and a city girl, and their like opposites attract, and I love it because she is a little bit older and he's a little bit younger, so it's age gap, but the kind of age gap that you don't see a lot when the woman is the older one in the couple. I've heard the guy described as golden retriever, which is also another thing I look for in books. I love a golden retriever male character, so I cannot wait to read this one this year. The next romance on my list is Last Time We Met by Emily Houghton or Houghton. I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name. So I actually got this recommendation from Rachel Catherine on BookTube. I feel like out of every booktuber, she and I have the most similar opinions and taste in books, and she compared this one to Emily Henry and gave it 5 stars. So that alone was enough to make me want to pick it up. But the thing that really spoke to me in this book is that the two main characters' names are Eleanor and Finn, and normally I would gatekeep this, but Eleanor and Finn are like the top of my list for potential baby names. Eleanor is my favorite girl name and Finn is my favorite guy name. So when I heard that those are the two main characters' names, I was like, this book, like something about it is just speaking to me. So the fact that Rachel Catherine, who I love all her recs, loved this book, it was compared to Emily Henry, and the two main characters' names are like my 2 favorite names in the world. All those things make me really want to read it in 2023. The next book on my list is a Coho book that I asked for Christmas, and that is Confess. All her books to me are so entertaining and so fast-paced, and I just love every single one of them. And I feel like I've read all of her most popular books last year, so I was trying to figure out where to go from here because I do want to try out more things by her that aren't quite as popular, and I heard a few people say that Confess is a good one to try out. The concept sounds really interesting. The male character in this book is an artist, and he takes people's confessions and turns them into art. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I know for this book, Colleen actually got real confessions from her readers for the book. So that sounds so interesting to read about, and I know there's a show based off this book too. I haven't heard anything about it one way or the other, so I don't know if that's good or bad, but I definitely want to try out the show if I end up liking the book. Okay, I have 3 more romances to talk about, and they are all OG book talk books that I feel like it's crazy I haven't read yet because I'm literally the last person on earth probably to read these, and I just really want to have an opinion one way or the other. This first one I feel was like so hyped up when it first came out, but lately I've heard nothing but bad reviews about it, so I'm kind of scared, but it's just one that I want to have an opinion on one way or the other, and that is The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. I'm also scared about this one because it's compared to The Hating Game a lot, which I did not like that book. It was my least favorite, most disappointing read in 2022. And this one is described as being similar. It has similar tropes, but I'm willing to give those tropes another try. I want to see if I actually don't like the workplace romance, enemies to lovers, grumpy sunshine, or if it was just not done to my preference in The Hating Game. I know this one is about a girl who needs a date for, I think, her sister's wedding, and it's a destination wedding in Spain. So she ends up taking one of her co-workers, Aaron Blackford, who is supposedly like a top tier book boyfriend. Everyone raves about him, so I really want to see for myself. But I feel like the destination element, kind of this vacation vibe to the story, is a little more up my alley. So I have more hope for this one. I'm hoping to enjoy it. Okay, the next book is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I really want to try out Casey McQuiston because I'm also interested in reading some of their other books. But this book especially I feel like was one of the OG book talk books. It is a romance between the son of the President of the United States and then I think a Prince of England. So I love that dynamic of like an American person and a British person having a romance. It feels so like fairy tale to me. And this is one that I haven't really heard any negative reviews about, so I'm excited to try it out for myself. And the last romance on my list is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I'm really not sure how to feel about this one. I know it's a romance between Patroclus and Achilles. I feel like Greek mythology for me could go either way. I don't love it, but I don't hate it by any means. I feel like if it's done well to where it's not like confusing and stuff is thoroughly explained, I could enjoy this one. But if it's confusing to me, I'm just gonna probably check out, and hopefully that's not the case because people say this book is like heartbreaking but also really beautiful, and I hear people rave about Madeline Miller's writing all the time, so definitely want to give it a try. Next genre, we're moving into literary fiction. This is another genre that I discovered I really love in 2022. I did not think I would love it as much as I did, but it's right up there with romance as being one of my favorites. The first literary fiction book that I want to read is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I actually just bought this book yesterday. It has been so hard to find because it's been sold out literally everywhere. Even if you try to buy it on Amazon, it's like it'll be here in a month, and I didn't want to wait that long because it is the book club I'm a part of's pick for January. This book I saw on so many people's favorites of the year list for 2022, but so far in my book club, the reviews have been kind of mixed, so I'm interested to see how I feel about it. At first, I was not interested in picking this book up at all because I heard it's about two people who create a video game together, and I am not a gamer girl in the slightest, but since then I've heard that you don't have to like video games whatsoever to like this book. It just sounds like a really touching friendship story, and I feel like it's gonna be sad, I think because the two main characters meet in the hospital, so I'm like, is one of them sick? I hope it doesn't have a sad ending, but I'm excited to try this one out and see how I like it. Speaking of sad, I know literally nothing about A Little Life besides the fact that it's about a friend group and it's very sad. Literally everyone cries to this book, but also everyone gives it 5 stars. So I really need to know what the deal is with this book. I'm thinking that I want to do a video reading sad books for a week, and I definitely will be including this book if I end up doing that video idea. But this is another one I was gifted for Christmas. I just had to know what it was about, but I feel like I'm gonna have to emotionally prepare myself before I dive into this one. And the last literary fiction book that I absolutely have to read in 2023 is Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. I am such a Sally Rooney girly. I read Normal People for the first time last year and fell in love with it. It became my favorite book of the year. So I've just been putting this one off because I hate the fact that it is the only Sally Rooney book that I have left that I have not yet read. So I'm kind of waiting, hoping that she'll announce the release of a new book or announce that she's writing a new book so that I at least have something from her to look forward to, and then I'll feel better about devouring this one. But for now, I'm just kind of saving this one, but I feel like I definitely will end up reading it in 2023. The next genre I have is thrillers, and the first thriller I'm very excited to read in 2023 is The Younger Wife by Sally Hepworth. If you've been here on my channel, you'll know that in 2022 I discovered Sally Hepworth and she became a new favorite author. I have devoured all of her backlist thrillers except for The Younger Wife, so I'm kind of saving this one as well, but she does have a new release coming out in May, so I don't feel too bad about reading her last backlist thriller that I have to read. All I know about this one is that in this book we get POVs from the husband, the younger wife, the former wife, and the daughter. So it sounds like drama, it sounds like messy, it sounds so interesting and intriguing, as all of Sally Hepworth's thrillers have been so far, and I can't wait to give this one a try. In a very similar vein, I really want to try out another Australian thriller author who is compared a lot to Sally Hepworth, and I really want to read 9 Perfect Strangers by by Liane Moriarty. I know that her more popular book is Big Little Lies, but I really want to try 9 Perfect Strangers because I was looking for books that are similar to White Lotus because I'm obsessed with that show, and this is one that I heard compared to it, and it does sound very similar. It's about 9 different people who come to this like health or wellness resort, and it sounds like what really goes down at the resort isn't what is advertised to the public. So it sounds like there's going to be mystery. It sounds like there's going to be 9 very distinct personalities at this resort, very similar to White Lotus. And again, Liane Moriarty is another Australian thriller author, which reminds me of Sally Hepworth and is what I've been loving in thrillers. So very, very excited to check this one out. It sounds like everything I could possibly love in a thriller. Then I have one historical fiction on my list. That is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. This was the Barnes & Noble Book of the Year last year, as well as one that I just heard a lot of buzz about and made a lot of people's 2022 favorites of the year list. So definitely want to give it a try. I feel like I'm going to really like it. This one follows a chemist in the 1960s, a female chemist. So she is probably one of the only women in the field. It's a very male-dominated field, especially at this time in history. And I believe she ends up starting her own cooking show. And her goal with the cooking show is to reach these like domestic housewife type women and teach them chemistry through her cooking. So it sounds very female empowering. I love that in my books and very excited to check this one out. And I have one fantasy on my list. I feel like it's more magical realism, but when I was looking up the technical genre for it, it was under fantasy. But that is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This is another one that I feel was an OG book talk book and one that I'm planning on picking up very soon. It's about this woman who's contemplating ending her life, but she gets transported to this magical library where each book there that she opens shows her what her life would have looked like if she made a different decision. I feel like there's going to be great life lessons in this, and it's a very short book, so I feel like I'm going to be able to fly through it, and it's one that I definitely want to read very, very soon because I feel like it's a good one to read at the start of the year when we're making all these new goals and resolutions. And I'm hoping this one really resonates with me because I feel like I can definitely be a grass is greener on the other side kind of person and struggle with feeling content where I am. And I think this book focuses on both of those ideas. All right, guys, those are 23 books that I am very excited to pick up in 2023. Let me know if you yourself have read any of these and which are your favorites or what books you're excited to pick up in 2023. Make sure you hit the red subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to my channel so you can hear how I like all of these books when I do get around to reading them this year. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you so soon in my next video. Bye, guys.